Welcome back. Now, Nigeria's removal from the FATF grey list marks a major shift in how the world views our financial system. After years of being flagged, the country has now been declared compliant with global standards. And this morning, we are going to discuss the implications of Nigeria's exit from the FATF grey list. Joining us via Zoom this morning, we have Obinna Okafo. He is a certified anti-money laundering specialist, risk manager and auditor. Good morning, you're welcome.
Good morning, thank you very much for having me. Thank you, viewers, and welcome to the session.
Right. Now, firstly, can you enlighten us on the FATF and why countries, particularly in this case Nigeria, was in their grey list in the first place? What did we not get right?
Okay, thank you very much. FATF stands for Financial Action Task Force. It's a global watchdog for financial crime like money laundering, terrorism financing, and prison financing. Was set up around 1989 or 88, where by a group of 7 G7 countries aimed at fighting financial crime collectively, globally. And they have been doing that. They came up with recommendations that countries should implement to ensure that there's some form of uniformity in standard across the globe. And so whenever there are weaknesses in the implementation of those recommendations, FATF come up with assessments, with evaluation as to how well or otherwise countries have performed. And also FATF have what is called regional style bodies that are like FATF globally. In this case, Africa has GIABA, which is the Intergovernmental Agency Against Money Laundering for West Africa. So they subject countries to mutual evaluations to assess how they have implemented the laws, or how, number one, how they have come up with relevant laws that will comply with the recommendation. They have about currently 40 recommendations that covers all aspects of fighting financial crime. Then in this case now, Nigeria was subjected to such mutual evaluation, I think 2021 or thereabout, through its regional style body, GIABA, that evaluated that, and eventually Nigeria was found to have been deficient in some key areas. And some of those key areas that Nigeria was deficient was one of them weak in terms of effectiveness in implementing the AML CFT law. In fact, it was unfortunate that, or it was surprising that in 2012 rather, Nigeria came up with very major key rules, laws that I would describe as 4 and 3. But key 2 of them majorly was, number 1, the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2023 that came to force in May 2022. Also, the same year, we have the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act that enlarged and incorporated the proliferation, financing of weapons of mass destruction. That was also in May. And between May, September, and October, various regulators codified and domesticated those laws into their various sectors, like CBN did that for the bank, insurance did that, NICOM did that for the insurance, SEC did that for the capital market operators, and SCUMU means Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering, did that also for other designated non-financial entities and professionals, and that was done. But unfortunately, in May 2023, in February 2023, Nigeria was brought into the grey list schedule, which shows that implement that the laws we say we have, that we are not implementing it well. We are not, what I would say, we are not walking our talk. That's basically what it means, that we are not walking our talk. So some of those acts we said we are not implementing well. Second thing also was that there was no kind of robust system that identify beneficial owners. Beneficial ownership here was not transparent. This is like corporate entities are supposed to show who are the people behind the scene, the significant person of significant controls. In this case now, for Nigeria, we have anybody holding 5% ownership of a company is considered as a beneficial owner, or those who are also having control of the affairs of the organization, they are beneficial owners of the organization. So there was not proper, but in this case now, Nigeria have come up with a portal by CAC, now have some portal that recognize the beneficial owners of especially publicly quoted entities. That is a good way to start, even though it may not have been robust or complete as expected. Apart from that, also another deficiency was also in terms of risk-based supervision. Various regulators were supposed to adopt some level of risk-based supervision, the NICOM, the SEC, the STOMUL, and CBN. That was considered, there were some gaps, and the monitoring of some designated non-financial business professionals were not adequate. These are included the lawyers, the accountant, the real estate agent, the NGOs, the casinos. These were weakness in their monitoring. So that considered also as part of the weakness. And apart from that, also there was limited use of financial intelligence. You realize that we have Nigerian Financial Intelligence Units that's supposed to be an intelligence agency that provides intelligence through suspicious transaction reporting that is being filed by all reporting entities, but the agencies, the various law enforcement agencies were not were discovered by FATF that they were not using it as expected, so that became a weakness. Apart from that, they also discovered that there was weakness in politicization financing control. Nigeria didn't have any effective framework to prevent, detect, and freeze assets linked to political financing. So that was also a weakness. It was also discovered that there was insufficient coordination among various agencies of government like the NFIU, the ICPC, the EFCC, the DSS, police, and even regulatory bodies like NICOM, CBN. So everybody was like almost doing their own in silos. So there was need for more coordination among the agencies and those who work in that regard. Apart from that, also there was the non-financial sector's compliance gap was huge. These are the designated non-financial business professionals, like I mentioned earlier, the law firms, the real estate agents, the dealers in precious stones, car dealers, supermarkets, hospitality, NGOs, and so on. So these were considered very, very low in awareness. In fact, they are still having that low awareness. So these were the cases that caused the Nigerian to be thrown into the gray list. These were areas of deficiencies. That is what's up. FATF has about 3 categorizations in their listing. First of all, you have the we'll call it a clean or plain list or white list, whichever way. That means that you have a clean slate. There's nothing wrong with you, like what Nigeria have just become now. The moving on from gray list means that we have no. So it's either if Nigeria has not done what it's supposed to do, it's either they remain in the gray list or will go to the blacklist. Blacklist means nobody should deal with this country. You are blacklisted. But the gray list means that the country should be subjected to continuous monitoring and watched, and invariably telling the whole world that this country is a high risk. Doing business with them. They did not say you should not do with the country, but do business at your own risk. So that is why, by being under the gray list, Nigeria became will be subjected to enhanced due diligence. Financial institutions across the globe, whether you are from the financial whichever sector, in fact, it affected every aspect, including the travels. So much demand, so many Nigerians were subjected to several things, several scrutiny, because our country was considered as being a high-risk country, susceptible to financial crime because of the placing of Nigeria under the gray list. So that is what led to that gray list experience in the first place.
All right. Now, Mr. Okafor, now that Nigeria has been removed from the grey list, what would you say is the implication and how significant is it for our global financial credibility in general?
Yeah, that has much more implication. In fact, Nigeria and South Africa was placed at the same time. I think also South Africa also have exited. And it has so much. First of all, it boosts our reputational and investment confidence. But the fact that, because a lot of people who are not here, they are not based here, they look at global body pronouncements, they look at the pronouncement of the IMF, pronouncement of FATF, pronouncement of United Nations, and very other, and World Bank. So some people take it very seriously. So removing this by the FATF grey list, Nigeria was said to be a high risk and not to be trusted country as such, that if you are to do your business, you should shine your eye, if I'm to use our local parlance here, to shine your eye to make sure that you carry out your own in-depth due diligence, because the country is a high-risk country. But having removed that toga now, it means that that reputational damage, that reputational risk have been somewhat removed, so that that level of confidence by investors now, it signal a positive global kind of posture for Nigeria as regards fighting of money laundering, terrorism financing, position financing, and so it has a significant improvement in our reputation. Apart from that, investors have more confidence coming into Nigeria. If there were those who they're just like portfolio investors, they may consider otherwise to come and do more investment, because portfolio investors will just look at how is the capital market flowing, and then once they see there is external result that can cover the risk they invest, you can see the capital market can be running haywire. But real investors who will come and invest in the country in critical areas of the economy that will now grow the economy, that will create jobs and develop that is one of the confidence that removing Nigeria from the gray list brought to Nigeria. Apart from that, also our credit rating also will improve. The credit agency rating, the credit agencies like the Moody, the S&P, and so Fitch could now review Nigeria position in terms of governance, signal, potential improvement, and so on and so forth. So it will give us a better sovereign risk outlook. Apart from that, also it's easier also now for assessing international financial markets, because with this time it was not easy. Most financial institutions are very careful and susceptible. But this now, even though they were still having that before, Nigeria was being subjected to enhanced due diligence, but now removing that, we have become more simplified in their due diligence. So the stringent requirements by global correspondent banks or for insurance, reinsurance companies, and for the capital market operators, for real collaborations, and even some financial flows across borders that will also be reduced. The stringent scrutiny will be reduced. The fixed liquidity might also improve because of this now. And so it may also help Nigeria banking regain more smoother access to global payment ecosystem like the SWIFT. It has always been working, but you can see that at some point, there was a time you cannot use your card here to make transactions. I can remember about 2-3 years ago, I could not recharge my Zoom link because my Naira card could not work. I have to use a dollar card, and even somebody feels some business. So some of those things will now be more seamless and smoothing up because of this. Apart from that, also we also have a lower transaction cost, because when it took you a longer time, longer scrutiny to verify cross-border transactions, it means you are spending more time, spending more money, spending more resources, and causes more delays. And that also leads to some level of higher compliance cost. But with this exit now, it means that there will be less friction in trade settlement, there will be less friction in diaspora remittances, there will be less friction in multinational operations. So those are part of the benefit also that can bring into the system. Apart from that, also recognition of a strengthened regulatory and institutional framework is another thing that they exit now. They now recognize that yes, our regulators. We have critical four regulators in this area. We have for the market, for the financial service operators, you have the CBN, we have the SEC, you have the NICOM. Then for the designated non-financial business professionals, you have the SCUMO. SCUMO stands for Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering. And so that's why most organizations that are fall within that category, when you want to go open a bank account in the bank, they ask you to get SCUMO certificate. So because you are supposed to be under, so it's seen that yes, most risk-based supervision is to be adopted. That means that they will assess the risk categorization of the entities they are supervising and pay more attention on the high-risk institutions. Not as if they will not assess every other one, but you look at more of those that the level of risk assessment expose the country and pay more attention, while also paying attention in the lesser category. Apart from that, also the law enforcement action by EFCC, NFIU, and as if there was a high level of coordination that led to this. Those of us in the compliance scale who knew the level of coordination that went into this. I think that was also one of the things that qualified Nigeria for to get exit. So the implication of all of this is that beneficial owners transparency and improved suspicious transaction reporting also system has come to be. In fact, some of the sectors that were not doing that are being encouraged. Most institutions that have been trained. I've personally been involved in training financial institutions on understanding what suspicious transaction is about, because suspicious transaction provides intelligence to law enforcement agencies or intelligence agencies to be able to process intelligence, for which it will help the law enforcement agencies to be able to carry. So it validates the national risk assessment and the national AML CFT strategy reform as a credible one. There will also be very soon, another evaluation, but I believe we'll be able to sustain that soon. Apart from that, also, another implication is that there is an improved standing with global bodies. Nigeria now enjoys enhanced credibility and with multilateral organizations like the IMF, the World Bank, the African Development Banks, and so on, in terms of technical assistance and funding. Also, the Egmont Group of financial intelligence unit participations, even though they have also been there, but there will be more relationship, international donors, and so on. Development partners will have more regard and confidence dealing with Nigeria, because some of these international organizations will not want to deal with any institution, anybody, any country or jurisdiction where there is such a toga of being tagged as a high risk jurisdiction or country. Apart from that, also another implication would be in terms of domestic economy and the compliance incentives. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. I think this is a conversation that we need to revisit. It's not something we can just exhaust in one sitting. We want to thank you for joining us on Signature Morning.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
All right. And yes, we just spoke to Obinna Okafor. He's a certified anti-money laundering specialist and a risk manager and financial auditor. We just spoke on the implications of Nigeria's exit from Financial Action Task Force grey list. And we'll draw the line here. We'll go on a short break. When we return, Signature Morning continues.